Everybody. It's August, the midnight oil, but it can't be helped. Lots going on behind the scenes, and I have lots to post, lots to tell you. A lot of news coming in every day. It's very busy. We're getting very close. I can tell you that we're getting very, very close. So we have breaking news. Uh, more and more information is coming out. Who's behind everything, and you see that at the federal level and or the DC level. You see it in the DC level. Who is behind the collusion? Who is behind the conspiracy? And Obama has been named, and Hillary Clinton has been named for the Russia gate, all the Mueller investigations, all the President Trump was absolutely targeted. He was absolutely upsetting. Um, uh, the criminal network, and he even called out Pelosi now, saying, how can her and her husband, two average-minded people, average IQs, beat very, very smart people there in New York with trading, right? The trading and making millions and millions of dollars. They must have had inside trading for the stock market. And so he's even called that out, and of course she um, tried to impeach him twice. She didn't. Well, she did impeach him twice, and she didn't win. And now you have Letitia James being investigated. You have, oh, I can't remember his name. I know his name, but it's it's late. It's late. Pencil neck. President Trump calls him pencil neck. Um, he's being investigated, and during these 5 years with Richard's case, of course, we have um, paid more attention than what we would normally do. All eyes have been on which leaders in Congress and in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, as in the executive administration, what judges, what lawyers would seem to have a little bit of decency, have a little bit of honesty, and so we were paying attention. uh, and thoroughly it's corrupt, I can tell you that. And so of course, with the 15 plus agencies from the beginning of our son's case that have been involved in our son's case, that we knew were compromised, right? They were very compromised. And now we're up to, like, I think 22 agencies involved in Richard's murder case. Richard is the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier that was lost his life after being forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss, and they took his life in the line of duty, and for why? Why did they do that? Well, he was the whistleblower for the criminal trafficking along the El Paso Mexican border, but also that infiltrated with the cartel into Fort Bliss and were trafficking on Fort Bliss. And how do we know that? Because we have the evidence. The evidence confirms that the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. The evidence confirms that there were audits going on, that the barracks had a weapon problem, that the barracks were flush with weapons, which is against regulations. They have to keep their weapons in the armory. And these weapons, we have evidence that the weapons were unauthorized, that they were, many of them were illegally in possession in the barracks. We have evidence that there was trafficking with weapons and ammunition, and supplies, and even vehicles, We have evidence that hundreds of thousands of children were being trafficked through Fort Bliss. Now, most of them have lost their lives. I think the you're talking about hundreds of thousands, and I think now they've found 8,000 of them, I believe is the number that they're putting out. But you're talking about hundreds of thousands, okay? So this is a death camp that was emergency intake center on Fort Bliss that could sleep up to 10,000 beds at a time. 10,000 beds at a time. Now, the new staging center on Fort Bliss that President Trump has, his administration has built is 5,000 beds. Okay. That's for the staging ground for the deportation of criminals in our country out of that are have no right to even be in this country and are criminals and and are being deported. Also, a staging ground for his call to have the military fight the cartel. Right, the military is going to um, um, get rid of the cartel that's in the country, and um, he was asked, "Are you going to go to uh, Central America?" And he's like, "What are you talking about? They have tons of cartel in Central America. That's their problem. We need to take care of our country," meaning that the cartel have infiltrated our country. And we have confirmation of that. And Richard was reporting on that. And Richard was in communication with the IG and the CID and the FBI in Washington, D.C., and the CPS, Child Protective Services, and even 911. And he even called 911 multiple times. So this is very, very important for everyone to know that the evidence confirms that Richard is a whistleblower, that he was reporting on the criminal trafficking. That's not even to be debated. And that's why he lost his life, because he corroborated President Trump's policies. And all the evidence that you see coming out now, who's behind all the targeting of President Trump, you can see how vicious they were against President Trump, and anybody that stood in the way of their vicious deeds were targeted also. So you even have some people being put in prison. You have the targeting of the J6ers. You have the targeting of Richard, of course, Glennon Oakley Jr. But Richard is definitely uh, the one that was corroborating President Trump's border policies, and as a whistleblower, and turning in that the cartel have infiltrated, right? The cartel has infiltrated. How do we know that? Because the very uh, group that he was reporting targeted him in 2019 through A&R Chavira Auto Group, which is connected to the cartel. Now, some cartel have been now designated as FTOs, which makes it even more serious, a totally national security threat. And so this the and of course Richard's case is connected to the Walmart mass shooting. They're intertwined. It's the same people. And we know I can the new video that came out by the DPS of the Walmart mass shooting interrogation, the interrogation of Patrick Crucius, which releases some footage. They need to release all of it. They just release some montages, right? A montage of little clips, but they need to release all of it. Um, and they can always redact like they did. They put black squares on top of the victims. You see that in the montage. There's clearly three victims in the montage, clearly, um, which might be four, because when you watch that montage, there's, of course, Maria wrote in the parking lot. Um, and then, of course, you see Alexander, the German national, Alexander Hofmann wrote. He's there, his feet are moving, which is uh, weird, very weird. Something's going on there. And um, then you have in the hallway another black box, which we believe would be the Unchandos with the Unchando baby. Um, we believe that. So it's the Enchando baby survived. I just, want to make that clear. But it seems to me the way these clips are, um, the timeline is totally wrong. It's just been totally blown up, and it's a lot of work to go through and do a forensics of what they have released, and we've been doing it. We've absolutely been doing it, and so we're working on showing you the possibilities of this timeline, because it is what they have shown, the videos that we have, the rest of the evidence that we have through all of the news agency false narrative, even the false narrative, but in their false narrative, they still have to give legitimate information. And so we're trying to piece together the truth, right? The truth, because we're so tired of being lied to. And all through Richard's case, intertwined with this Walmart mass shooting case, we've been lied to over and over and over again. And clearly, the reason for this lie was an orchestration, and this orchestration could not happen without the infiltration of the cartel, of narco politicians, and of dirty agents, dirty law enforcement, um, and controlling certain parts of the case, right? And so we know the Manny Chavira is dirty. We know that, and he got a quid pro quo of an unqualified position as chief of police of the El Paso ISD just 2 days after the Walmart mass shooting. It was absolutely, to us, in our opinion, a quid pro quo. There's, you know, uh, it's just so suspicious that you have to say it, because he's up to no good, and he targeted Richard, and he has cartel ties. How can he have cartel ties and be made, and not even go to peace officer school, and then be made chief of police for the ISD? And we have plenty of evidence to back up that there was a lot of unhappiness with the officers of the El Paso ISD, and it's all connected to the Poison Pawns, Julio Cordero's work. So, it's not like we're just making these accusations, snatching them out from the thin air. We are absolutely taking that from all the evidence and the hard work of people that are trained, like retired FBI agent Julio Cordero, who lost his life at the hands of an El Paso ISD police officer. So, and he, before he retired, he had really exposed so much of this corruption through Poison Ponds, and he had continued his work. He almost got up to the very, very top. Um, but So I think Richard's case is going to be Poison Ponds 2.0. I think so. I think we're going to stand on Julio Cordero's shoulder, and we are going to expose the poison ponds, ponds being PAWNS, like in a chess game. Okay, who are the poison pawns of the Walmart mass shooting, of Richard's case, of all of the criminal trafficking, including the hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked through Fort Bliss? Who are the poison pawns in the military? Right, these are mutineers. These are absolutely mutineers. And maybe that sounds to you. These are traitors, treasonous traitors. Maybe that sounds a little tougher, but that's what they are. We know for sure in the military that Sean Bernabe has to be stripped from his uniform. The evidence, the face to face evidence, the absolute lying to our face that we witnessed. We are the witnesses. We are the whistleblowers. Because we are a Gold Star family, and absolutely, Sean Bernabe needs to be stripped from his uniform and his stars, and many more, like Clem Coward, like David Stewart. David Stewart's still active duty, like Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. He's ADA over all these drones. He needs to be stripped. He should be nowhere near anything that has any kind of value at all. And Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz and General Michael Garrett, General James McConville, General Mealy, Mark Mealy, absolutely, and of course Lieutenant General Donna Martin. Um, you know, she absolutely is so guilty because uh, she was the provost marshal. She was the IG. Um, and she is absolutely as dirty as can be, treasonous traitor, like them all. And of course, Mark Milley being the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So the military, because we have, a combined 80 years or more of military service in our family, and all of our connections and understanding of the military, we put that together pretty quick, and I got a lot of uh, grief, a little bit of grief at the beginning when I said we had 44 four-star generals that were compromised. That why are we so top heavy? We have 1/10 of the military personnel that we had during World War II that only had 7 four-star generals, and now we have 44 four-star generals, and we give them everything and even more than what we gave during World War II. And, we really need to look at that situation, and a lot of them need to lose their stars, lose all their benefits, lose their uniform, lose their title, and not replace them because we're so top heavy. And then when President Trump, and people gave grief for that, but I stood by what we know and what we've been through and what the evidence confirms. And when President Trump came in and Pete Hegseth became the Secretary of the Department of Defense, um, he absolutely is trimming that down. He's trimming that down. It needs to be trimmed down. And I hope that he's investigating all of these failed leaders and not only that they're failed leaders, but that they're traitors. And that they targeted President Trump, which makes them mutinous, right? That they committed mutiny. And at a time of war, which means they're treasonous. Okay, they're treasonous. So, and they're serving foreign and domestic enemies instead of honoring their oaths and the creeds that we have. So that was very clear. And then in El Paso, the 15 plus agencies that we met with there, and um, we had to learn who's who. And now we know that DPS, um, Sanchez, the top cop, the top cop is frisky business, with somebody that is a honeypot trap, a honeypot trap. We also know that DPS Texas Ranger Gustavo Sanchez, that was assigned to our case, is cartel connected, right? Cartel connected and connected to Nadal Baim. Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer, that is the father in law to Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which is Richard's command. Um, and also connected the two of them to Manny Chavira. Manny Chavira of the A and the very same chief of police of El Paso ISD. They are connected. They have family ties, y'all. So they are. This is absolutely a family affair, a family criminal network that is a family cartel tied criminal network. And that extends, that family cartel tied criminal network extends to Bob Moore of El Paso Matters through the A&R Chavira Auto Group and his wife, Kathleen Gannon of KTIP. Um, which who works for that, Angela Kucherga, which understands why they targeted Richard, and they started targeting Richard in 2019, okay, because he was the whistleblower and he was such a threat to their um, sabotage operation against President Trump. Really, that's what that was, and they're also connected to Bill Hicks, connected to, and of course, he is the disgraced and rogue DA that is did not disclose that he was the lawyer for Purchase Funeral Homes, that is connected to this um, rotting body dumping ground for the cartels, for the narco cartels in Juarez, that has connections to these funeral homes that are transnational. That means that they have cross-border operations in Juarez, Mexico. Juarez is in the state of Chihuahua, Mexico, and in El Paso, Texas, that has contracts with Fort Bliss for mortuary operations, and those mortuary operations were headed by Major Solomone Nusa. Solomone Nusa. Okay. And the prime suspects in Richard's murder case, oh, I shouldn't have said that word, in who took Richard's life, um, are his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, Dallas Hart's mother, Lilani Hart, and Lilani Hart's cousin or family member that she was very intimate with, Tavita Nusa. And Tavita Nusa is the brother of Solomon Nusa, the mortuary operator, right? For that gives these contracts out to the funeral homes and things like this for Fort Bliss. Um, and Tavita Nusa at the time was a CID agent there on Fort Bliss. So he's like the FBI for Fort Bliss. It's called the Criminal Investigative Division. And that, now he, uh, he got messed up, y'all. This whole thing with the Walmart mass shooting and Richard's case, um, and all the up to no good that he did messed him up. He was absolutely his badge was terminated in 2021. Okay, in 2021, his badge was terminated. He is the dirty, disgraced CID um, agent that his services were not required anymore. He was terminated. And they took away his badge. So that has been confirmed. And, so you see this connection there. Lilani Hart, Dallas Hart. Lilani Hart's husband is worked in the VA there um, for death benefits, right? For death benefits, when you have someone in mortuary operations and the CID and death benefits, and then of course right there in Richard's unit, and you take a life, a life of a soldier is worth a lot of money with the SGLI insurance, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and other benefits, IDS, Pablo benefits, and you can use your position there at the VA if you're IDES, uh, Pablo, for disability benefits. You can use that to bribe people and everything like that. And there is a huge amount of people involved in all of this that get those benefits. Okay, they're like it's been given out like candy, and that's not what it's meant for. Um, like Leilani Hart doesn't pay any property tax in El Paso. Okay, she doesn't pay any property tax in El Paso, and she gets thousands of dollars a month, and she is very actively busy. You can figure that one out yourself. Um, so there's been a lot of abuse of power there, and so so CID on Fort Bliss that wasn't even involved in the latest arrest of the soldier that is alleged to have spied and given the tank information to trying to give it to Russia, but it was an FBI sting because they have undercover FBI agents on Fort Bliss. That makes me feel really good. Uh, the CID now, anyway, under the Trump administration, and them getting this soldier. Um, but the CID wasn't even involved. So that tells you the failure of leadership by the commanding general there, Curtis Taylor, and that the CID cannot be trusted, that they have been compromised. And we can confirm that. It has absolutely been compromised. They lie to us continuously, and they need to pay back everything. I think they need to even monetarily give back their paychecks, because this is taxpayer money, and they absolutely did not give us honest services, right? They did not. It's called deprivation of honest services. They deprived us from giving us um, what they were being paid to give us. And I think these generals need to pay back too. I mean, we're a nation in debt, and we have a lot of these government officials that have deprived us from the honest services that we've paid them, and I think they need to pay it back absolutely, especially when it's a compromised office, and they're letting crime just explode, right? Explode, and so many lives lost. They need to be held accountable, and I think that that should be one of the things that you know, at least we should ask for it. We should absolutely ask for. And I think all indications is that accountability is coming. You know, you have the arrest of Ernest Christopher Grant, who was the bad player in the Walmart shooter, who, you know, I'm not doubting that he got shot, but I'm wondering why. And he has some interesting other partnerships in that, and he's been arrested. And you know, I'm always curious about David Johnson. He was one of the victims, and it doesn't make sense, the story behind him, and also because his family is connected with Jesus Melendez, the canine cop that targeted Richard. So we can't forget that that is family with Belen Rocha. Okay, that's family with Belen Rocha. So, you know, it's not just Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who I've hammered with Danae Katzen and the Ambrose family at 3905 Bliss Avenue, or multiple addresses on Bliss Avenue that connect Richard's case to the Walmart mass shooting. It's also the dirty cops um, with Belen Rocha and, you know, these dirty players that were, you know, Belen Rocha was sent out kind of like this Danielle Gary, to be a honeypot trap, right? They tried to honeypot trap Richard. And what did he say? He said, I rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. And I, you know, when I got that video of him saying that, I think they were trying to offend me, but I was like, wow, I'm so proud of him. He couldn't be honey trapped, right? He couldn't be honey trapped. So that was a really great feeling. And they tried to compromise him every which way, and he couldn't be compromised, and so that's why he ended up giving it all. He gave it all for the children, for all those that have been hurt with the criminal trafficking, and all the weapons and the theft, the grand theft of this all. Uh, you know, it's just it's so big, it's hard to wrap your head around. And so going back to Tavita Nusa and Leilani Hart and James Hart and um, the prime suspects, Dallas Hart, the prime suspects in Richard's case, the loss of his life, the taking of his life, the um, the misuse of his remains, the cover up, everything that had to take dirty agents in the FBI field office in El Paso. And we know that it was dirty, right? We know that it was dirty with the Walmart mass shooting because Michael Mayella, Patrick Crucius's brother-in-law, was in the FBI office during that time. Okay, he was not only in the FBI. He's a cyber tech guy, but he was also in the DA's office working alongside. Uh, uh, I want to say James Bonneau Montoya. I want to use his right name, James Bonneau Montoya. You know, he's tried to lie to everybody. Well, he has lied to everybody. He hasn't tried. He has lied to everybody, and he's also a rogue DA. He's not legal. Look, if in a court of law they could just walk right over him. And in the last interview, he's a mess. He looks a mess. He knows that he is an absolute fake and liar and a rogue DA, and that he did not properly install, and that he has a lot of legal issues that are coming his way. And of course, that's why he couldn't pursue the death penalty for Patrick Crucius, because he was not legitimate. in order to do something like that, right? In order to seek the death penalty, you have to have your ducks in a row yourself, right? And he doesn't. He is absolutely a fake DA. He has no authority to seek the death penalty, and that's why he couldn't. So it's very, very plain. Everything else that he did, is good. It's, I think it's scaring him. I think it's scaring him. But absolutely, a death penalty case, he stayed away from that. But he's fake. He's a liar and a fake and a rogue DA. And I'm being nice, okay? I'm being nice because you're talking about a lot of lives that he has hurt. Um, so you also, so going back to the FBI field office, and Michael Mayella being in the FBI office, being in the DA office, being also in Walmart cybersecurity. Well, that's really handy when the mass shooting was at the Walmart, right? And we don't have good footage. Where's all the footage, right? So there's been a lot of tampering and a lot of manipulation. And so when your brother-in-law is in charge of the video footage, when you want to do a shooting in that business where he works for, wow. Um, and that wasn't disclosed by Bob Moore, so you can tell it was this was all orchestrated, and they used the bloody Walmart mass shooting to form a racist narrative that's false, absolutely false, that they could pin, or politically in the news, that they could use in the news to fabricate news, that, a false narrative around President Trump to sabotage him, to smear him, falsely smear him. And I hope he sues the hell out of them, right? I hope he does because, and we're working very, very hard for President Trump because we feel like he was very wronged in this. And so it's not just Richard Halliday, it's so many other people, especially the President of the United States. Um, no way should they be able to falsely smear with the words of Ernest Christopher Grant, a criminal. Thank God he's been arrested. And just, you know, total, it's, I don't even want to say it, because all of our words get, printed out. You can just print it out. It goes into reports. I'm just saying that they use a Walmart mass shooting to form a lie that they could use politically to um, tamper with an election against President Trump and in favor of Biden. That's what they were doing. And, because, yeah. So uh, if you have someone like Michael Mayella that is not being exposed and being the brother-in-law of Patrick Crusius, and Patrick Crusius absolutely having a major family in El Paso, and the media is saying that he didn't know anyone, he didn't want to cause any family turmoil, yet his brother and his Mayella family in the federal courthouse, in the very federal courthouse that was running his case. Um, uh, that is such a conflict of interest too, because it's Michael Mayella's father, Michael Sr., that was in the managing all the cases in the federal courthouse for David Guadarrama, right? Judge David Campos Guadarrama. So this is, that didn't seek the death penalty. That didn't seek the death penalty because a death penalty would be an automatic appeals, and then an outside individuals would then have to look at the case and say, oh, wait a minute, your daughter married a Crucius? Your son was in the Walmart cybersecurity. Your son was in the DA's office. Your son was in the FBI office. Wait a minute. Patrick Crucius surrendered 2 times. Oh, what do you mean the timeline is so crazy? Where did this weapon come from? Where did these bullets come from? Where is the forensics? Where, you know, let's look at this case better. I think there were reports of multiple shooters. What happened to Glennon Oakley Jr.? What did he say? What was he reporting on? What was he a witness of? What were the other witnesses? Many other witnesses. What were they saying? What does the video show? See, they didn't want that kind of scrutiny. They didn't want people asking the questions. And oh, Patrick Crucius is blind. Um, he can't even stand loud noises. He can't stand loud noises, and he's blind, and he's autistic, and he has severe mental health conditions on top of that. And you expect me to believe that this information that you're saying is right? No, they don't want that kind of scrutiny on the case, and so they could never seek the death penalty, which he admitted to taking the lives of 1 or 2 people in the audio that we have, the evidence that we have, which would be enough for seeking a death penalty, right? But the problem is there were 21 others that lost their lives that day, and 22 others that were injured. So what's going on here, right? Um, Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Vivian. Good day to you all. Very happy to write this testimony to the whole world to see the great work of the great man named Dr. Solomoni. I was down over since 4 years, but thank God. Let's see. I see this man named Solomoni. I emailed him if I can get help to grateful. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if I should. I have to read it. I see my result, but I don't know how he did it. But thank God for bringing this man to me. I'm very happy. Okay. I think this is some kind of advertisement. Okay. So I'm going to hide this. Okay. All right. So this is where we're going to is into the FBI office. We know that Leilani Hart needs to be arrested, that the special agent in charge of the FBI office in El Paso, John Morales, needs to arrest Leilani Hart because of her confession, of cartel-tied child exploitation. Okay, that's where this is going. Okay, and there is no one way or the other. I don't care how they spin it. She needs to be arrested. Okay, she needs to be arrested, and she's a convicted criminal. So she needs to be arrested, and we're just waiting for that day, right? It's just a matter of time. But then we know that there were leaks coming out of the El Paso field office to Leilani Hart and to Vida Nusa, giving them a heads up. We know that also James Hart was getting leaks, fed information from the CID that were in connection with the FBI during all of this. So we know that there were leaks, and we know that Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. Was a leaker. right? Was a leaker, but that's not enough, right? That's not enough because, and that should be enough. That should be enough because his wife, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, she works in intelligence on Fort Bliss. So, this is all in the family, like I said, throughout these agencies. And, who does this? Who puts these people in these positions for such a long period of time that they compromise our country, our the El Paso area, right? The El Paso area, which then compromises the country because they feed their reports then to Washington, D.C., and they feed them lies. They feed them lies. They misguide the whole law enforcement agency apparatus. And so we know that, and we also know that George Torres absolutely is compromised, absolutely was leaking. And his wife works at Dr. Melissa Mendez. Um, yeah, Melendez Mendez. Um, and, is the oversight for at Texas Tech University Health Science Center and is the oversight for Patrick Crusius's sister-in-law, Alexis Crusius. Alexis Mayella Crusius. That's right, Michael Mayella's sister. So there at Texas Tech University Health Science Center that works with the unqualified, illegal chief medical examiner, Mario Raskin Ortiz, who has these family connections with the Bliss Avenue folks. So it's all full circle. And of course, he's the medical examiner. And so he is actively corroborating, collaborating's what I meant, with Solomon Nusa of the military, the U.S. Army mortuary operations. So this is, very clear how they could get rid of Richard's remains. Um, they have cross border because Mario Raskin Ortiz, the chief medical examiner, he has a long family history of funeral and morgue duty, morgue jobs, positions there in Chihuahua, Mexico, in Juarez. So he is, that he's SEMAFO, right? He's SEMAFO, which is the Juarez mortuary, and dealing with the funeral homes and the funeral homes with this rotting body narco cartel crematorium, Plenitude Crematorium, whose owner is Rafael Curan, Aurelion Curan, hiding out in El Paso in the lap of luxury and his, he's multi-million dollar businessman, live in his home is right beside Beto O'Rourke. I mean, right next door, y'all. Right next door. While he's running this um, rotting body dumping ground for the narco cartels, um, that purchase funeral home, these transnational funeral homes, um, like Purchase, like Sunset, like Angel, like Martin Funeral Homes, all have uh, agreements, certain agreements and deals together linked to this rat infested chewing through remains um, of hundreds of bodies left there. Now, there's some breaking news that I have for you today about that. Um, the news is reporting that the furnace has not been operable since 2022. But we're hearing that that was by choice. I guess it's expensive to run these furnaces. Um, and they charge the families, but instead they committed fraud, and they decided to just grind up finely fine gravel, a stone, and mix in some ground up um, or ashes, burnt up ashes of animal bodies, and present those to the family as in the urns as ashes of their family members that they had paid for, or that USAID had paid for, because they were offering, like, quote unquote free cremations. And of course, USAID was paying out for John Doe's and Jane Doe's unidentified migrants. And you know, that was that was a stumbling block, because I'm sure it was a tidy sum, because it was paid by, this open checkbook, U.S. taxpayer monies. And so they were doing that in Juarez, Mexico, through these NGOs, and through the government, because who had oversight of this absolute hellhole, right? Who had oversight of that? Well, that was the governor's mother. So the Chihuahua's governor's mother, uh, Maria Eugenia Galvan, um, she had oversight, and she, absolutely put a green flag on it, right? That they can keep on just piling up and having rats infest, and just committing sacrilege against Corpus Christi. Real, she put a green flag on the sacrilege of Corpus Christi. That's what she did. And she's the mother of the governor of Chihuahua, um, Maru Campos, right? Maru Campos. So, eh, and the now it's been confirmed that they are Sinaloa cartel. Okay. And how do we know that? Because Lalinia told us, right? Lalinia told us that her connections are with Sinaloa cartel. And of course, other evidence too that corroborates that information. And so that means that the owner, Raphael, that lives next to Beto O'Rourke, that's connected with Beto O'Rourke, is connected with the Walmart mass shooting false narrative, right? He was like calling Ernest Christopher Grant the criminal, a hero, and everything, knowing full well who he was, knowing full well otherwise he shouldn't even run for president of the United States, and he tried to. He's a failed candidate, and he is under investigation now, and I think his wealth has been um, shut down right now, turned off, frozen, or whatever, because he's under investigation for his PAC funding um, the sabotage of the Texas Congress vote for redistricting. So he's very politically active still, and he is absolutely connected to this whole mess, this whole cartel mess. And, trying to put all the pieces together, because we just had another arrest of an active police that was the security for the governor of Chihuahua. And he's accused of taking the lives of all of the LeBaron family, Labaron family, and that includes 3 women, 6 children that are American citizens. So, all of this is pieced together, and it could not happen if we had a legitimate FBI field office um, with without these dirty agents. So I named two, Nieto and George Torres, with all of their connections with the apparatus. But there's another one. The breaking news is there's another one, and we'll release that tomorrow. Um, it is huge. It is really big. It's so big. And when you know, you'll understand how all of this is connected. And we're just very, very grateful for those that have been whistleblowing, and giving us time to check this out, fact check, and back it up with even more evidence so that we can tell the public the truth. And we've been right all along, haven't we? We've been right all along. Early on, I was saying that Patrick Crucius was autistic, and that was the only time Bob Moore wanted to contact me and come on. It came on. How did he want to because we tried to contact him like over 15 times to try to give him the true information about Richard's case and what was going on. But since then, we found out that he's the very person that was targeting Richard early on to destroy Richard. And that makes sense. And when I said that Patrick Crucius was autistic, he went absolutely crazy and had to come on my live stream and say, no, he's not autistic. And sure enough, he's autistic. And in the interrogation YouTube video, if you get a chance to watch it, Patrick Crucius even says, I have to put on the earmuffs, tactical earmuffs, because, I'm autistic. I can't handle loud noise. And then he's also blind, and he couldn't tie his shoes until he was 18 years old. He failed kindergarten. At 3 years old, he was banging his head on the pavement. And, he was in special education, and, rightfully so. But the point of this is that he did not have the ability to carry out something like a Walmart mass shooting was, with precise 60% were headshots. Okay. That so far, well, I take that back. From the verified casualties that we have verified, um, because we can't believe what they say, where 23 people, we're just trying to go step by step and verify the information. And out of that, of course, Maria Roth and Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote, Roth too, um, a Mexican national and a German national. They were it was professional hit job. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It was a professional hit job, and it was a headshot. And the videos, nothing, the animus or gate, the attitude and all of that it takes to do something like that. And even a first timer would vomit, uh, would maybe soil themselves. Um, there's none of that. Patrick Crucius in the videos, he looks like he's just playing laser tag. Okay, that's what he looks like he's doing. Um, so none of this adds up. And those were professional hits, and that's why we need to ask the questions. We should absolutely ask the questions. And by asking the questions, because it's intertwined with Richard's case, we will also get the answer that we're seeking for Richard, and that's, where is his remains? We're getting closer, because we have absolutely uncovered that they had the ability to go back and forth through the border, especially if they have and we're confirming it tonight, and we'll share more names tomorrow. But they absolutely had the ability to cross that border with everything, any kind of weapon, any kind of body, anything. They could do it. And so this is your, you should absolutely ask questions, and we are um, trying to answer all those questions, because that means we will get accountability and we will get our son's remains. And from the very beginning, when we asked for Richard's remains over and over and over again, they were really taken back by that. And we're like, no, we want our son's remains. We want our son's remains. That's why we didn't want to have the memorial. We did not want to have something like that, because we want our son's remains, because we knew that something was really stinky, and that and we knew that the dirty deed happened on Fort Bliss. Okay. So if Richard's life was taken on Fort Bliss, they can absolutely tell us what happened to his remains. Okay. So that is really our stand. And we had no idea that it would expose this funeral farce, this funeral business farce, this sacrilege against Corpus Christi. I can't stress that enough. Okay? Because if they can play with human remains and disrespect human remains, um, and they are, you know, that's to God first and foremost. We're doomed if we let them get away with that. Um, the ramifications for this funeral hellhole that they created, that they're running for cartel, so that the cartel could kill with impunity and just drop the bodies off there. Oh, and I forgot to finish up my breaking news with that. My breaking news is that they said the furnace wasn't working since 2022. Um, the breaking news is that the day or the day after they got arrested, of course, because the brother of Raphael got arrested with another worker there, um, that those furnaces were turned on. The furnaces were operable, they were just turned off. And that right after they got arrested, somebody else went in there and turned on those furnaces, and those pipes were putting out all night long, constantly. They were getting rid of evidence. So it's way over 400 bodies, victims, and they were burning evidence. So that is just recently. They had those ovens turned on full blast all night long, all night long. And I don't know for how many days. I'll let you know, um, because we're getting so much information in right now. Um, because as these years have gone by, I we've earned trust of a lot of people. A lot of people, we've earned trust, and they are now confiding in us and giving us information. And I think that also has to do with President Trump, meaning business, a new sheriff in town, so to speak, a new sheriff in town, and the accountability, and knowing that there is accountability coming, that someone does have the victim's back, right? That somebody has this family's back, because it's not going to be Mauro Campos, right? It's not going to be Cesar Haragi, the AG, that is also connected to the Sinaloa cartel, which are FTOs now, right? They're FTOs. So um, we're getting really amazing information. And right now, we want to say thank you so much that you can confide in us. Um, and and we hope to continue to earn your continued respect and trust so that we can absolutely get accountability for all, uh, for all these atrocities that has spiraled downward into the abyss where there's screaming and gnashing of teeth. Um, when you create a hellhole like Plenitude Crematorium, and the government is behind it, right? The government is behind it and funding a hellhole. And then you have on the United States side a dirty and compromised FBI office with dirty agents like Jesus Nieto, Eddie Nieto Jr. And George Torres, and we're and the mystery FBI agent that we're corroborating, and then we'll release it. We're 99.9% there, but we like to be 100%. So, yeah, this is all breaking, and it's all coming together. And just pray that we will get our son's remains returned to us. At least we'll get answers, but we want our son's remains, and also um, that we get accountability. So thank you so much. God bless you. And oh, is there a log they keep at the border on outstate remains through their mortuary logs? So, what we've been told, that's a good question. What we've been told is that the funeral homes are cartel, and that this was absolutely a cartel dumping ground. It was open for all the funeral homes to use, all the cartels to use to drive up and dump victims' bodies. And multiple were in uniform. Um, that's what we've been told. And so logs, um, you have to understand Raphael Quran, living next to Beto O'Rourke, who owns lots of businesses in El Paso. He's a he might be close to a billionaire. That's how wealthy he is. This fraud is just one little part of his fraud, okay? His Sinaloa cartel fraud. And it's Sinaloa cartel, um, protected by Sinaloa cartel, mother of the governor Sinaloa cartel, and protected by Bill Hicks, protected by Beto O'Rourke, protected by Veronica Escobar, because Veronica Escobar is the one that brought Mario Raskin Ortiz over with this fraudulent H1 uh, visa, H1B1, whatever, visa with whatever. It was all fraudulent. We have it all on open records. Um, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Uh, and that visa was presented on false claims. He's illegal. He's unqualified. And it was Veronica Escobar that financed him, that okayed his payment of over $430,000 I mean, he's gotten a raise every year. He's been there for so many years. Um, and he tampered with the cause and manner of death. We've confirmed that. We have confirmed that with the Walmart mass shooting case. So, and I've been saying from the very beginning, years, I've been saying there is a common denominator with the Mormon religion, and that there's a funeral home connection. Well, now we know, don't we? And Veronica Escobar, uh, here, she fraudulently got this uh, death guy in. I have to get a name for Mario Raskin Ortiz. And they put in Bill Hicks, who could not legally sign his statement of officer because it was a bribe. And so he was never a legitimate DA. He was a rogue usurper DA. And who worked in his office? Montoya. And Montoya joined Bill Hicks's team. Bono, Mr. French Bono, Montoya. He he joined in November of 2024 Bill Hicks's team. And he's Mr. 2028 stamp. So it's been confirmed that he's also a rogue DA. So you've got Beto O'Rourke, and I'm going to tell you right now, we have Obama. You have Beto O'Rourke, you have Veronica Escobar, who held the purse strings for Biden. She was co-chair for Biden, and then she was co-chair for Harris. And they're connected to this hellhole to get rid of those who, and cash in on it. Not only to get rid of whistleblowers, but to cash in on it. And even double dip. Let's charge families in El Paso, give them ground up animal ash or whatever, and we'll take the body over south and we'll cash in as a unidentified migrant through the NGO, through USAID. And then we'll just leave these bodies there to rot. So we don't know exactly what the real number of these bodies are because they've been doing this with impunity. That place was not even licensed. And he runs businesses. He's Sinaloa cartel, and he runs businesses that, if you've gone to restaurants, I can name restaurants, other businesses. He has businesses on both sides. And, it's like, does he pay his taxes? If he's not registered, if he's not licensed, if he's not, he has unexplained wealth. I mean, his houses are the lap of luxury. Saus und Braus. Because the house next to Beto is not his only house. And his brother has major properties too. And who is the property guy? Beto O'Rourke. And who is Beto O'Rourke in league with? You've got Danae Katzen. You got the Ambrose family. You got Texas Heart playing his ukulele for Black Lives Matter. Texas Heart being interviewed for the Walmart mass shooting in the Dallas Morning News. Him? Really? This is a tight little criminal group. And it's all going to make even more sense tomorrow. Um, Logs and, you know, I'm sure there might be, but don't forget the CBP, Donna Sifford. She absolutely needs to be arrested. I think they have enough information. I mean, Ernest Christopher Grant was arrested. And oh, yeah, I have some other breaking news. The cop that said that he had helped Ernest Christopher Grant, he's been reprimanded. So things are happening behind the scenes, and I think that President Trump is just right away going to the top, going to Obama, going to um, Hillary Clinton. But this is absolutely a political criminal group that they play so dirty. They play they play for to bring in hell. And y- you know, I and it's not, look at, they have the Bill Hicks, they have people on both sides. So this is an infiltration of a criminal network into not only um, the funeral business and our military and our agencies, but also into the parties, right? So, yeah, I just want to be really clear about that. Uh, so, thank you so much for staying on so late. I know it's very late there. Thank you so much. This is so important. Please share it. And we're so glad that we have uh, earned so much respect that we're getting this kind of information in. Tomorrow's going to be a whopper, y'all. Tomorrow is going to be a whopper, and you'll understand so much more tomorrow. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back